You're listening to the Show We Go Baseball podcast.
What's going on, everybody? Welcome into episode 53 of To the Show We Go. And we have Ed Hand, as always, and myself, Andrew Parker. It is the Theo Denlinger episode. I got to meet Theo this past year in Worcester. We were around for half the season up there. He came over in a trade with the White Sox just a couple years back. It seems like that was 10 years ago at this point. But Theo, we've been talking a lot already off air, but but we'll get into some cool stuff that we were just talking about in a little bit. But your off season is almost finished, so I want to ask, what have you been up to this off season, like non-baseball and baseball related?
Yeah, so baseball, it's been just working on the cutter, working on pitch selection, pitch mix. Really honing in those pitches, getting the four seam down, getting the power back to it. I'm adding a splitter, so that'll be a good pitch to the arsenal. Got the cutter, and then adding a slider and replacing the curveball that I had. So I really like the pitch selection that I have. Been working on that a lot with my coach from the Dubuque area, Andrew Redmond. So he's been working with me nonstop, day in, day out, just trying to hone in all those pitches together and get ready for spring training. And hopefully I'll come in and kick the door down, and they'll have no chance but to just put me up there. So, but we'll see, we'll see what happens. And then as for non-baseball related, that's my nickname, the Viking, and I blacksmith nonstop. And that's what I've been working on. And so making knives, axes, swords. I actually did just sell a sword to a guy named Adam Wainwright. I don't know if you guys know who that is, but
it sounds familiar.
Yeah, so I just sold him I sold him a buck knife, a folding buck knife, and then a sword.
How did that conversation even come out? Did you get like a text from Adam Wainwright and someone's like, "Hey, I heard you're a blacksmith," or how do players find out that you're doing this?
So I met him in person at a baseball Christian conference this off season, and then so we were down there talking, and he walked up to me and goes, "Hey, so a couple of my friends told me you're a blacksmith, and I really love the woods and hunting, and I want to get some weapons from you." And I said, "I'm your guy." Just so I have his number. I've been texting back and forth with him about what he wants, and so I actually just shipped all of his weapons to him, and hopefully he'll be getting them in about a day or so.
How long have you been doing this for? How long? Because it's such a cool hobby. It's such a cool thing to know how to do. It's such a great skill. But you don't hear a lot about modern day blacksmiths or anything. I remember when they first traded for you, that was the first thing that everybody said. "Oh yeah, he's a blacksmith." And it's kind of just like, is that like the hammer thing?
Yeah. So I've been blacksmithing with my dad for probably 9, maybe coming up on like 10 years now. And it's just been an incredible journey along the way. Definitely difficult and time consuming, but it's incredibly worth it. And to be able to make the masterpieces that I make is just outstanding. And being able to give guys on the team or just anybody that hits me up a weapon that I made that they can use either in their kitchen or for trapping, hunting, fishing, any outdoor sport is really incredible.
What's your favorite type of weapon to make?
So I really love making swords or axes or hatchets. Yeah. So just anything that blacksmiths back in the day were making for Vikings to go out there and I'll keep it PG-13 and just say, do their job.
It's incredible. I'm going to say two things. One, for a kid, I grew up in St. Louis, so Adam Wainwright pretty much owns that city.
Oh, yeah.
So that's incredible. I think that is an awesome connection to have, first of all. And second of all, you're the guys that you have made things for this offseason. We've had Shug and we've had Brendan Nail on, and the look on Shug's face and Brendan's was incredible whenever they pulled that out. They were showing those, they were proud to have those things that you made. It's like Shug was just like so quick. He was just playing around with it. Like we didn't even ask him about it yet. And he was already like, oh yeah, like Theo made this for me. Like, I'm like, that is awesome. And like all the guys, like even after you had went back down to Portland, all the guys were still wearing your shirts. Like how cool was that to have like the support from your teammates? So you like, I feel like it's got to be a good feeling.
Oh yeah. I mean, all the guys, AA, AAA, there's coaches wearing them. Like everybody is wearing, and I'm wearing it right now. Denlinger Forge swag. So yeah, I mean, it's honestly incredible. Like I thought I would go in and like there'd be like, you know, a guy like Shug or Nail, like, you know, redneck type of guys that'd be like, hey, can I get a knife from you? But like even guys that, you know, like guys from the city or just pretty much everybody on the team, guys from the Dominican Republic, like everywhere, were just like, hey, like those shirts are awesome, and I love you as a person, so I want to wear your stuff. So it was honestly incredible to see the whole team come together. And I remember they got the shirts and we put them on the ping pong table right there in the middle of the room. And there was like probably 20 guys that immediately came up and they were just like looking through it, like getting their size, going to their locker, like taking pictures. So it was, it's incredible to have, you know, your boys on the team support you like that.
Yeah, I did.
Oh, sorry.
No, I was going to transition into some baseball things. So if you had anything to follow up,
I do have one more question. And that's,
all you, man.
What is the strangest weapon you have ever made? Like, not necessarily like you got requested to make this weapon and you were like, you know what, screw it, let's do it. Like what's like the most out there request you've had that you've been able to do?
So I made a hatchet for a guy in Alabama that he wanted to chop wood, and I was like, yeah, that makes sense. And he goes like, no, I want to karate chop wood. And I was like, I don't know if I'm following what you're saying. He goes, I want you to make a metal hand, and then I want you to connect it to a piece of wood, and so I can like karate chop wood. So I put my hand on a piece of metal. I drew out on a piece of metal my hand and then sharpened one of the edges. And then I connected it to a baseball bat, and now he can literally chop wood. So that's probably the strangest thing I've made. I call it the hand axe bat. I don't know. It's just out there, but the guy got it and he sent me videos of him like chopping wood with it, and he loved it. It's incredible.
So there was this like reality TV show competition I saw a few years back that was like different, like it was like best knives for cutting things. It was like you had to just like cut through these different things. Do you know what I'm talking about, or is this something that I saw like once at like a hotel that like never aired again?
I'm not exactly sure what you're talking about. So the main craze and like what everybody asked me, like, oh, you're a blacksmith, have you seen Forged in Fire? That's what everybody asked me. And so yeah,
that's where I thought he was going.
Okay, yeah. So
it was that one.
Forged in Fire is the only one I know of out there. Otherwise, I mean, there's a bunch of shows on the History Channel about like, you know, antique weapons or different things like that, and then they show them like actually being used either in combat or, you know, on prosthetics or pigs or whatever else. But yeah, Forged in Fire is the only thing I can really think of. And I get asked about that every time someone finds out I'm a blacksmith, and they're like, hey, you should do that. And I'm like, yeah, well, baseball kind of takes a lot out of my schedule, so I can't really do Forged in Fire right now. But probably when I retire, you know, way down the line.
Road, yeah.
I might try and get on Forged in Fire. So that'll be in the future.
Yeah, this is going to be bothering me until I figure out what the actual show was. So you're probably going to get like
Google
a morning a DM from me being like, I found it or something like that.
Yeah, for sure.
I thought you were definitely talking about the Discover that Forge and Fire. I've seen that a few times, and it is amazing. But
This was both the most amazing and like dumbest thing that I've seen, because it was people with like, you just had to like try to cut through these different trees, and if like you ran out of time, then you lost. And they had like, some of them had like real swords and stuff, but then there were other guys that had like these like dinky little knives they were trying to do it with, but they were all really into their weapons, and like they had made all of them. So that was
interesting.
And like the karate chop one sounded like something that would have been on that show. That's what that reminded me of.
Could be.
Anyway, let's get to the baseball.
We had to talk a little bit of baseball. We also had to talk a little bit of the blacksmith. It just comes with the territory at this point.
Of course.
Even though Cam Boozer did roast me because he said I better not ask you about that whenever I did talk to you after you when you were up in Worcester.
I actually just FaceTimed with Cam Boozer today and asked him to, because he's a welder. So I asked him to help me with a project I was working on, and how to get the perfect weld on this great axe that I was working on actually today. So that's funny that you bring that up.
He's a welder.
I'd be remiss if we didn't ask you to show us that also.
Yeah, so I'll show you the great axe that I'm working on. So here it is. Pretty large. It takes up just the axe head itself takes up my entire torso. I don't even know if it fits in. Yeah, it fits in the picture. But yeah, here it is.
That is so cool.
I know you explained it to us off air. Can you just for like now that we're recording, like what is it going to be used for?
Yeah, so Jordan Fisk, the guy, our strength and conditioning coach that used to be our AAA strength and conditioning coach in Worcester. So he uses it for a barbell jack. So what it is, it goes underneath a barbell, it hooks underneath the barbell, and then you pull it back, and it sits on this metal plate, which is why I called Cam, because I was welding up this metal plate to the great axe. And so it sits on this metal plate, and then the barbell sits on top of it. So then you can load up weights onto it easier, instead of like having to pick the barbell off the ground and try and put weights on it that way. So the barbell sits on top. You can easily load plates on top of it, and he'll probably load 1,000 pounds and lift it, because he's just a giant beast.
The first day I saw him, I didn't know who he was. The first day I was at Puller Park, and my buddy Chris, who was also covering the team, he looked over at me and he's like, do they have like a WWE wrestler throwing out the first pitch today? Like we thought he was about to like walk out with the Big Show. Like this guy was insane.
Oh yeah.
Incredible human being. Like he's also hilarious. So it's like great combo.
And he also loves Vikings and the Nordic lifestyle. So we immediately became best friends.
Shoe fits, man. That's I'm not surprised at all. All right, I did want to ask you. I wanted to ask you a few baseball questions here.
For sure.
So you got your first taste at AAA this year.
Yeah.
How? And now I didn't get a chance to talk to you after you had left Worcester. So now that the season's over and you looking back on your first taste of AAA ball, what takeaways come to mind that you experienced this year? Yeah,
so it's every level you go to, there's better guys. And I've said it before and I'll say it again, like all the guys in the minor leagues, they got stuff, they got really good stuff. But as you keep climbing those levels, there's guys that have tools, and then there's like skills, experience. And as you keep getting towards, the top, it just keeps getting a finer line. So you really can't, like the mistakes you could make in low A, don't play in double A. And the mistakes you could make in double A definitely don't play in triple A. And I'm assuming that the mistakes you make in triple A to strike guys out, whatever, you leave a ball over the plate or just catch part of the plate and it's a 0-2 pitch, in triple A that won't play in the majors, and in double A that won't play in triple A. So just as you keep climbing, it just keeps getting, you just gotta keep getting better yourself, as the guys keep getting better. But I've found that the guys are more disciplined. They wait on pitches. Obviously the strike zone, that's another thing with, the automated strike zone and umpires not being able to call it. And that's a whole different thing. I don't know if you guys want to get into that.
Oh, I'm happy to. I would love, because you went up from AA to AAA mid-season.
Yep.
So I feel like your perspective, you were doing it one way, and then you had to immediately adjust to it being a totally different way. So yeah, I'd love to hear what you have to say about that.
Yeah, I mean, it literally squeezed the pitchers. Like, the pitchers had to throw it almost down the middle in order to get a strike. And the hitters were just standing there with the bats on their shoulders, just like, hey, you got to throw me a strike before I'm even gonna look at anything else. And then if you did, like, they're just waiting on it and just attacking it. So there's a fine line between having an umpire call it and like an automated strike zone. Like, obviously, you know, the strike zone is going to be around the same, but you're not getting those pitches on the black. You're not getting calls where you're like, that could have been a strike, could have been a ball. It's up to the umpire's discretion. No, it's completely out of the game. I think it's not baseball. It just doesn't make it baseball anymore, because otherwise, why is the umpire back there? But besides to call people out when they get home, like go to, like, there's a play at home. So I think it just completely takes away the umpire at home. I mean, what is he doing if he's not calling balls and strikes? He's got an earpiece in that says, hey, that was a ball. Hey, that was a strike. Like, anything on the black was not a strike. I can tell you that right now. And it squeezed the pitchers. And I remember, I can't remember the guy's name, but a hitter came up to me afterwards, and, you know, we were talking about the game, whatever, like, hey, good job out there. Yeah, you too. And then he goes, we were just talking about the strike zone. And I was like, yeah, you know, it squeezes the pitchers. And he goes, yeah, dude, anything above my belt, I don't even think about swinging at, because I just know it's a ball. So it's just, the hitters know, the pitcher has to throw it down the middle in order for them to even be remotely close to a strike. So it just, you know, kind of takes away the fun of the game, and takes away the umpire and those close calls that can make or break a game at the end.
Now, were you also doing because I remember, I forget what the exact schedule was with it, but it was like a couple of days there was the automated strike zone, and then a couple of days there was the challenge system?
Yeah, so it was 3 and 3. So you would have Tuesday to Thursday was automated zone, and then Friday to Sunday was the challenge zone. And the challenge zone, I like because that's the umpire. The umpire is still making the calls, and then if you have a problem with it, like that. So the only the pitcher, the catcher, and the hitter can make a call on the field whether or not they want to challenge. And I think that's great, because you could be out there and the umpire misses a ball outside and he calls it a strike, and the hitter's like, no, dude, that was outside. Like, I want to challenge it. And you got to that's what they do. They tap the tap, and it's like, hey, I want to challenge that. And then so everybody goes, they look at the big board. And then it's like, all right, we're going to see if it actually was. I love that. I love that, because it has the system in place that everybody wants. Like, oh, was that actually a ball or strike? Like, you know, the umpires do make mistakes. But it also keeps the fun of those umpires, you know, making those mistakes or making those close calls where it's on the corner, you know, bottom of the ninth, could be the pitch to win the game, lose the game. So I really do like the the challenge zone, the automated zone. I'm just not a fan of.
Yeah, no, honestly, I completely agree with you. And this is just from as like watching it. It's exciting when you have them challenging it, and it shows where it's like I don't know if you watch any tennis, but like they'll show that with was it in or out. It's the same sort of thing. Like, did it hit there? I don't know. Let's see. Let's find out. And with like a hitter, I'm just thinking like somebody like Tristan Cassis, who has a really good knowledge of the strike zone. That's an extra skill set for the player right there. Or like
exactly.
So it seems like that's the way I hope they go with it. So
I hope so too. Yeah, I hope they get rid of the automated zone and just, like, all 6 games out of the week are going to be challenge zone. I would love that. Honestly, I would be happy with that.
I'll tell you what, after being around the stadium all season long in AAA and seeing both ways, I don't know if it helped because the challenge system was more on the weekend, so maybe the crowds were a little bigger.
Yeah.
But just when they cut to the screen and you hear everybody go, oh, like as you see the ball go in, like it gets a crowd like a little into it.
Drama.
And
it does.
Yeah, it
is
like
drama. It is. And people love that. People are like, oh, is it going to be? Is it going to be? And then like the ball right at the end will like curve off and it's not a strike or whatever. I mean, that's
or if
like,
there's like a little sliver that's in the zone and they call it and it's like, holy cow. Like, all right. But I'll never forget Ryan Fitzgerald having an absolute meltdown whenever he got called strike 3. And there was like, it was like less than your pinky nail that was in the zone. I'm like, ooh, it's tough. But all right, so automated strike zone aside, because we could probably talk about that for an hour.
I could talk about that all day.
I think we also talked Chad Tracy's ear off this past year on the automated strike zone at the very beginning. I think he was tired of it by June. I think he was like, guys, I don't want to take any more questions on this. It's too much.
Maybe that's why you like me. I never asked about that.
Yeah, there was a lot of questions about it, but it is what it is at this point. But we're all on the same page though, so I love that. All right, so when you went back down to Portland, what was that like for you? Like, what was there any type of talk about things that that you needed to work on, or like, I guess, how did the conversation go as you got resettled into Portland?
Yeah, so what I was told from upper management is that, hey, it had nothing to do with my performance. Like, I was out there performing. Obviously, there's going to be ups, downs. Like, there's times where I went out there, struck out the side, and then came back in. They're like, hey, really good job. There's times that I walked the house and they had to pull me. Like, there's ups, downs. Everybody has that. And they told me, hey, it had nothing to do with your performance. Like, you could have had a sub-3 ERA and we still just didn't have a spot for you. So what I was told is that they signed like 3 free agents that had big league time, and I don't have big league time, so they're not going to send those guys to Portland. So they had to send whoever was kind of at the bottom of the list for time in AAA and also big league time, and I was that guy. So they sent me down just because I'm new to the system. I'm new to AAA. So they're like, yeah, we're going to send you back down because, there's really nobody else that could go. And then so I went down, and I didn't take it personally. I mean, it's just a business. I understand that. And I was just the guy at the bottom. But I'm, willing to work my way back up and hopefully get some big league time along the way. And maybe I won't be that guy at the bottom anymore. That gets called down. So that's pretty much all it was. But we did have stuff to work on, and everybody has stuff to work on. There's guys, in the big leagues that have stuff to work on. So that's exactly what I did. I didn't sit there and go, oh, this sucks. Like, I hate the Red Sox for putting me down. No, I was like, this just makes me want to be better. This makes me want to show them why I should be in AAA and why they shouldn't have signed those free agents. And that's exactly what I did.
Now, you mentioned earlier you were working on a cutter. Is that something that is brand new for you, or is it something that you've worked on a bit in the past and you're adding it into your arsenal?
Yeah, so I've had the cutter in the past, but what it was doing was cutting and riding, and what they kind of want now is a little bit of cut and sink, just because my fastball already cuts and rides just a little bit. So they're kind of saying like, hey, we need a differentiation. And so that's exactly what I did this offseason, is worked on a cutter that not like didn't cut and ride and kind of cut and sank. And that's what I've been working on, and it's definitely coming along.
So what was it like for you? I'm going back to the AAA, being in the AAA clubhouse. So it might have been your first time being in spring trainings aside. But yeah, I guess during the actual season, it might have been one of your first times that you've been around guys that were MLB veterans. I mean, I know one name in particular, Jake Faria, jumps off the board of a guy that has a bunch of MLB time that you were in a locker room with. So what was it like, I guess, having some guys around you in that clubhouse at the beginning of the year this past season that, even Greg Allen, and there was Jorge Alfaro, there's a ton of guys with MLB time. So I guess, what was it like, I guess, being around those type of guys?
I mean, yeah. So I constantly try and soak up as much knowledge as I can, no matter who I'm around. There's guys in AA that have incredible skills and whatever else that they're putting to the test. They're learning. Everybody has different experiences. You, me, Ed, like everybody. And so why wouldn't I talk to those guys about their experiences and what they've gone through, what they've done to overcome obstacles and the ups and the downs along the way. And that's exactly what I did. And Faria actually was one of those guys. And also Bear Claw is another one of those guys that I went up to and talked to a lot. Bear Claw was also my locker mate. So he was right next door all the time. So I would constantly sit there and talk to him about, what he had been through in the past. And, I was not really struggling in AAA, but like I said, there was ups, downs. And there was a few downs that I was going through, and I was just like, damn, like, I don't know how to pull myself out of this. Like, I don't know how to get out of this. And so I was mentally stuck for a little bit. And so talking to guys like Faria and Bear Claw, and Alfaro are just guys that have been through it before. And so they sat me down, and not all of them together, but we just sat down and
wasn't an intervention.
Yeah, wasn't an intervention. But you sit down with them and you talk like, hey man, like, how did you do it? And maybe the way Bear Claw did it doesn't work for me. Maybe the way Faria does it or got over these obstacles doesn't work for me. So you just gotta talk to guys and see how they did it, and just kind of develop your own plan to get through things, to get better. Also talk to Faria about his off-speed stuff and just how he throws it, how he holds the ball, what he thinks about as he's releasing. So there's a ton of stuff you can talk to guys constantly about in that locker room. Cam Boozer, who he doesn't have MLB time, but he has a ton of time in baseball. So just talking to those guys and asking like, hey, what do you do in this situation? It's huge. It's so beneficial.
Yes. It's funny that you mentioned like going through, not funny, but you mentioned going through struggles, and a guy like Kyle Bearclaw. I'm just thinking about that game that he gave up the 10 runs and got demoted after that. And he was right back at the stadium, right back to his business, like almost like nothing had happened. Have you found that kind of, I'm trying, like, what's the right word? I guess just like willpower, that mental strength to kind of just keep going. Is that something that the more experience you have, the better it gets, or is it something that you have it or you don't?
I would say, experience helps with anything. Like experience, the more times you go through that, the more times you're going to be comfortable with going through that, getting your ass kicked, and getting your shit kicked in the dirt and getting right back up and being like, whatever. The first time it happens, you're like, God, I don't know how to deal with it. Second time it happens, the further you go along the way, the more experience you have with that, the better you're going to deal with it. But there's some guys that, just can't deal with it. There's some guys that, the first time it happens to them in pro ball, they get knocked in the dirt, get right back up, and they're like, whatever, that's baseball. So there is some guys that are built with it. And there's some guys that aren't. And then it's also just experience and learning how to deal with it along the way.
Now, Ed, I know that we did a lot of non-baseball at the beginning, but I do still have some random questions. So if you still have some baseball related questions, fire away.
I do. I've got a couple about teammates of yours, because there are two guys that I think are still teammates with you that you're intertwined with. The first is Taylor Broadway, who I believe was drafted. I forget if you were the one that was taken and then he was taken, or he was taken.
He was in the 6th. I was in the 7th.
Okay, so he got taken the round before you, and then you got traded over to the Red Sox, and then he was a player to be named later.
So he got traded.
Was he first?
Yeah, he was the player to be named later. And then I got traded in that off season. So he got traded first, and then I got traded literally that off season that he got traded. But sorry, you go.
Oh yeah, no, I was just gonna say, is this like, was he the first person to call you? Did he give you like the rundown on what to expect with the Red Sox? Like how's how was it being like, I remember you. We've been through a lot together.
Yeah, so me and Broadway, or at least I always joke to Broadway about like, dude, you need to make it up to the majors because I follow everything you do. I was like, you need to get to the majors because that means I'll be next in line. So yeah, obviously he got drafted, then I got drafted to the White Sox, and then it was constantly like he went up to high A, and then like a month later I went up to high A. He went up to double A. A month later I went up to double A. So I was like, and then he got traded. And then that offseason I got traded, and I was like, dude, yeah, you need to make it to the pro, like you need to make it to the majors, because I'm right behind you then. So that's a joke between him and I. But yeah, I mean, he's an incredible guy. Love that guy. And yeah, he was my inside source for, everything that's going down at the Red Sox. So as soon as I got traded, I called him up and I was like, hey, what can I expect? Who are the dudes we hang out with? Like, who are our boys now?
Yeah, it's like being the new kid, except for someone that goes to that school already.
Yeah, exactly. And he was a huge help. He told me exactly like how it kind of went down, how it goes down. Obviously he hadn't had a spring training with them, so he was going to be new to that too. But at least it's like, hey, we're going into it together. Like, I know him, he knows me. If that's all we have, that's good enough with me. So it definitely made me feel a lot more comfortable going into spring training with a new team and with having one of my boys there.
My second question for players is the guy that you were traded for, Franklin German, is now with the Red Sox again.
Yeah, he's now back, and that was actually, I believe he was one of the guys that was a free agent sign that I got bumped down to AA for.
That's really interesting. That's gotta be. Were you just like, what the hell, man? Like,
yeah, yeah. But it's also, like I said, I didn't really sit and think about it too much. It's upper management call. It's out of my hands. So I just said, whatever.
Yeah, you guys will probably be teammates this year, so that's be cool.
Exactly. Yeah, so I'll be able to get to know him. Hopefully in spring training, and then in AAA, obviously.
Did you
one
feel?
Last thing. Oh, sorry, Parker.
No, I was just gonna ask him if did you feel like really loved in that bullpen, being one of the few right-handers?
Oh yeah, definitely a little bit.
How many lefties were on that roster?
Oh yeah. There was there was a lot. I mean, there was a lot of love for everybody, but it was good. It was honestly, there's not really a single guy that I'm like, if he got traded, that wouldn't be a bad thing. But like, dude, the entire Red Sox team is incredible. Like, going from the AA bullpen to the AAA bullpen, I literally walked right in and became comfortable immediately. And so that also goes out to our AAA bullpen coach at the time, Wheels, we call him, who I met in spring training and immediately fell in love with. Guys, incredible. And so, yeah, every transition I've had with the Red Sox has been very easy. And all the guys there are like, yeah, dude, you're one of us now. Like, come on, let's go.
So before we get to Parker's rap, I don't know if it's going to be rapid fire today or not, but
oh yeah, it is.
Oh boy.
I was wondering, what was your introduction to baseball, and who was your favorite player as a kid, and what made you? Because I know you were a multi-sport athlete growing up, right?
Yeah. Yep.
What made you go with baseball over other ones?
Well, I actually was. I don't know if you guys know this. So my brother played Division I football for the University of Wisconsin, and he came in as a D end, and then they moved him over to right guard. So he was on the offensive line for the Badgers, and I mean, we were a football family. My dad played football. He also played rugby, but that's a way back in the day when you could just do football, rugby, and then whatever other sport they had. But yeah, so we were a huge football family. And I honestly thought I was going to go and possibly try and walk on to the Badgers. But then there was a D3 school in the area around me that I was going to go play football at, because I didn't have any looks out of college or out of high school for baseball whatsoever. I didn't even get a single call from like a junior college. And so I had to walk on to a junior college for baseball. But so yeah, the football thing, I was going to go play football, and my brother actually had a career-ending injury that ended his football career. And so my parents sat me down my senior year and said, yeah, you're not going to go play football in college. And so I also agreed. And I was like, yeah, football is a dangerous sport, really hard on the body. And I was like, you know what? I've always been pretty good at baseball. Like, I'll give that a try. So I walked on to a junior college in Madison, and I guess that's history since then.
So are you more of a college football guy or like an NFL guy or both?
Yeah. Well, okay. I guess we'll get it out there to the public to know. I don't watch sports at all. I didn't know who Adam Wainwright was when he came up and talked to me.
Whoa.
I'll get it out there to the public. So with my family, we grew up so my backyard is the Mississippi River. And then my other backyard is the forest. So I was constantly outside running around in the river, in the woods. We never had the TV on at home. So, and if we did, we were watching Lord of the Rings or, something about medieval times or Vikings or something like that, or watching the Discovery Channel and watching like hunting or fishing or trapping or whatever else. But I was never inside as a kid. Yeah. So I guess the public knows that now, is that I don't know sports whatsoever. I don't know who anybody is. So I struck out a guy in when I had my spring training, like, major league spring training debut. I think his name's Kevin Pillar, and I had no idea. I have no idea who he is. And
Red Sox.
Yeah, and so I struck him out, and so my buddy who is a huge sports fan texted me after the game, like, dude, you struck out Kevin Pillar, like, that's insane, like that's crazy. And I was like, okay, yeah, I have no idea who that guy is. Yeah,
just right back. Yeah. Nice, no emoticons or anything, just nice.
Yeah. I didn't know who he was. Honestly, I hate to say it, didn't know who Adam Wainwright was until he obviously came up, introduced himself, and I'm like, yeah, I'm Theo. Like, what's your name? And he's like, I'm Adam. I was like, that's all I knew him as. I was like, oh, this guy's name is Adam. I didn't know he was Adam Wainwright. And then so I guess that's out there for the public to know. But like I said, it's not that I don't love sports, because I love sports. I love baseball to no end. I could play it and watch it all day, but it's just I do other things in my free time besides watch sports. And so I hope the public understands that. I hope you guys understand that.
I think it's an advantage. I think that's advantageous. You're not going to get intimidated.
Yeah, I mean, obviously, if Aaron Judge, like, he steps in the box, I'm going to be like, yeah, okay, I know who that guy is. Like, there's a few guys that I do know, but there's also, yeah, I mean, there's a ton of guys, literally almost everybody that I don't know. So, like, when I faced Ellie De La Cruz, struck him out, had no idea who that guy was, and then he got called up to the majors, did pretty well with them.
Did all right.
But yeah, I mean, so I guess it is kind of an advantage to just go up there and be like, yeah, okay, whatever, here we go.
That is incredible. And I just know this is the second guy that I've talked to that has had the same story. Grant Gambrell is the exact same way.
Really?
I asked him, so they played Norfolk, who ended up winning the AAA championship this year. Their team was loaded with top prospects. Like, they had like 4 or 5 guys in the top 100. And I asked him, I'm like, oh, you struck out Kobe Mayo, Kerstad, like, I think Jackson Holiday was on the team at the time, Matt Holiday's son. And I'm like, what was it like facing all these guys? And he's like, I had no idea who they were when I faced them. I'm like, that is incredible. Like, it's an advantage for you guys, like, because he's not intimidated when Jackson Holiday stepped in the box. He didn't even know who he was.
Yeah, and I also faced him this year. I faced Jackson Holiday. I knew who he was just because Instagram and everything, and I follow MILB Central, so I've seen him on there all the time. Otherwise, I couldn't tell you who his dad was or what his dad did for a job. So
I love that. I love that. That's incredible. When Grant said that to me as well, I'm like, dude, that you keep keep that mindset, because you're not going to be intimidated when, obviously unless Aaron Judge is in the batter's box at Polar Park.
But I think Judge is like 6'7". I feel like you're going to be intimidated by him no matter what. Like, that's a large man.
Yeah.
All right, Theo, it's that time of the show where I have some very random questions. They're going to be all over the board. So
I hope I can answer it. And going off of that, if it's anything sports related about like, hey, who's your favorite, like this guy?
Nope.
I don't know.
No sports. This
okay,
is
good. I can do that.
All right, cool. First one here. I like this question because I've learned some things. I learned some things about Blaze Jordan in the our last interview. So
okay.
I want to know, besides you into Vikings and into blacksmith, the stuff that we already know and we've talked about.
Lord of the Rings,
I want to know, yes, stuff that, because I've seen the tattoo. I've seen it. It's incredible, by the way. But
thank you.
Besides the stuff that's known to the public, what is a guilty pleasure of Theo Denlinger that the public wouldn't know?
I mean, every guy loves gaming, but okay. Guilty pleasure. I love Jersey Shore, that TV show. I don't know if you guys have heard of it.
My dad and my sister used to watch that together.
So that's an extremely guilty pleasure. So I don't know. It's just the nonsense of those people talking and yelling and partying in the background. That it's just funny. It's not. It's entertaining. It's just funny to watch them. And then, I mean, I don't know. I love anything outdoors. I was just going to mention a bunch of outdoor stuff like canoeing. But yeah, I feel like everybody would know that just by looking at me. But yeah, probably Jersey Shore is my like secret guilty pleasure that I come home and I turn it on with my wife, and we just like, it's always in the background. Like I'll be cooking or doing something where I don't have to like pay attention to what's going on. I just like hearing like just the stupidity happening in the background behind me.
It's comfort food. It's like mac and cheese in TV form.
Yes, yeah.
Can I ask you real quick though, because I didn't know about the Lord of the Rings part. I didn't notice with the tattoo.
Well, I guess it's upside down. So yeah, so this is this is Narsil, the sword of Isildur that cut off the ring. And then there's the ring, and then this is the pendant of Arwen. And then it's pretty much just the map of Middle Earth. And then this is actually, most people say it's like, Viking runes. And I'm like, most people that I, just walk by, I'm just like, yeah, it's Viking runes. But actually, this is Dwarvish. So it's written in the language of the dwarves. And in English, it means if more people cherished food, song, and cheer above hoarded gold, it would be a merrier world.
I really like that. Is that from the books, or is that something that you
No, that's from the books. Yeah, that's from Tolkien himself. Gotcha. And that's J.R. Tolkien. That's the guy that wrote The Hobbit, The Lord of the Rings, all that. And so that's.
Did you get into it through the movies, or did you read the books first?
So I got into it through the movies first, and then I went to my high school library. And I read The Hobbit for the first time, and I read it like 3 times through, and I would be reading it instead of studying, and so I became obsessed with it. And honestly, that's Lord of the Rings is a huge reason why I got into blacksmithing in the first place. So I mean, it's one of the main reasons why I got into blacksmithing.
That's really cool. That's like, well, I feel like it's so interesting how people end up getting into these things that become lifelong, just like lifelong parts of it. I have a friend who's a 3rd degree black belt in Taekwondo. He got into it because he liked watching Power Rangers. That was it. He was 6 years old. He liked watching Power Rangers.
Yeah, exactly. That's like the little niches that happen in life. It's just like you see something one day and you're like, I love that. I don't know what it is, but I love that. And that's exactly what happened. Like I remember watching Lord of the Rings and The Hobbit when I was very young, and just being like, I don't know what it is, but I love swords. I love axes. I love knives. I love just anything, any weapon. I just love them.
The more you know, man. That was one of the first things I actually asked. Somebody was talking about it whenever I was in the locker room at the beginning of the year, and seeing it in person was incredible. I've never seen anything like. I've never seen anybody that's had something like that on them. So yeah, that's incredible. So my second question here, it's going to be, like I said, very random, but
okay.
What is the lowest amount of money you would take to shave your head?
Ooh.
Those are precious. That's precious lettuce right there, man.
This is precious lettuce. I mean, there are bald Vikings out there, like Jordan. He's the main person I think of whenever I think of a bald Viking. But I mean, so growing up, I've had, I don't know if you want long answers to these or if you want like the short answer, but
it's up to you.
Okay, yeah, I'll hit you with the long answer. So growing up, I've always had a buzz cut. I've never had like, hey, let's go to the barber or like the place where you get your haircut, Sports Clips, whatever. I've never gone to a place like that. My dad just sat me down in a chair and just one size and just went all the way around my entire life. And then I got into college and at Bradley. We had this thing where we shave our heads for childhood cancer. That's on my Instagram, so you can actually find pictures of bald Theo on there. So we would shave our heads every year for childhood cancer, and I would do that again in a heartbeat. If you told me right now we could go, like the Red Sox we're doing a fundraiser for childhood cancer, and at the end of the season everybody shaves their heads, I would do it immediately. So Red Sox, if you're listening and you want me to cut my hair, start something for childhood cancer, I'm fully behind you.
Answer.
But yeah, exactly. So I think I don't know if there's money. I think like for a fundraiser. That's another thing. So when we had the COVID in 2020, I was still with Bradley, and we didn't shave our heads that year, and I was like, you know what? I'm gonna grow my hair out. Like I'm gonna grow it long, like as long as I can. And so I grew it out for like a year and a half, and it was about the length I have now. And then we shaved our heads for childhood cancer, and I actually donated 4 ponytails of about 7 inches each to a foundation that makes wigs for children that suffer from childhood cancer. So I don't think there's a monetary value, but if you told me right now that you had, childhood cancer foundation and we were going to raise money for it, I would do it in a heartbeat.
It's fantastic. I was about as good as an answer you probably could have gave. So that's I didn't know if you were gonna put like a.
That was the most wholesome answer we could have had there.
Yeah.
Well, yeah, I mean that's the only time I've actually like shaved my head bald. And so yeah, I don't think if a person walked up to me on the street and they're like, "Hey, I have $1,000 in my hands. Will you shave your head?" I'd nah, probably not. But yeah, childhood cancer foundation, I would do it.
All right, third question here. I have two left.
Okay.
One's very important. I'm gonna save that for last.
Okay.
I think I saw you are a newly married man.
Yes, I am.
Congratulations, by the way.
Thank you.
That was just a month ago.
Yes.
Okay, so pretty fresh. So
yeah, so December 2nd.
Okay, so my question is, how much? So I feel like a lot of players, their answers vary because a lot of guys, they're obviously all playing in the season, and their time constraints are limited compared to like what your fiance's had to go through to wedding plan or whatever, like where you guys were going to have it, whatever. What was the best and worst part about like getting ready for the wedding? We lost Ed, but he'll be back.
All good. Yeah. So I and my wife, like this was in my father-in-law's speech at the wedding. And then my wife talked about it at the wedding as well, but I did zero. I did nothing for I literally walked into the venue and I was like, this place is awesome. And my wife just looked at me and she's like, shut up. But yeah, she did literally everything. I literally didn't like raise a hand or do much of anything. She is the superhero behind our incredible wedding, and that entire weekend of our wedding. She did absolutely everything, and I can't commend her enough for what she has done for us and for our family.
Yeah, I mean, I'm in the process of wedding planning. My wedding's in October, and she is an absolute, like, you nailed it, superhero. Like,
dude, yeah, literally.
Like, the things they do and the attention to detail and like the things that probably me and you don't even think about. It's like, it's incredible. It's and we're going to show up and it's going to be perfect.
Yeah. No, there's stuff that you're not even going to have considered when you.
I would have had no idea. No, I would have had no idea. Like, I didn't even know we had, you had to pick the color of the placemats. You have to pick the color of the napkins. Like, I had no idea. Like, if I would have planned our wedding, it would have been in a barn somewhere in the backcountry. Like, I have no idea what I'm doing. But yeah, she planned literally the perfect weekend that I've ever experienced. So hats off to her for doing that.
I'm with you. I'm going to think the exact same thing when I show up to mine. I'm going to be like,
yeah, exactly.
You're the MVP here. All right. That's all I got to say. So I have one left, and then we'll empty the bench, and then we'll let you go because we don't want to keep you all night. But
no, yeah, for sure.
I don't know what kind of answer I'm going to get here. You grew up in Iowa. I
grew up in Wisconsin.
Wisconsin.
I grew up in Wisconsin. Okay. I was born in Iowa. Yeah, so I was born in Dubuque, Iowa. So I live across the river from Iowa, about like 10 minutes.
Okay.
So and my parents were born and raised in Iowa, Dubuque, Iowa, and then they just moved across the river when they started a family. But my parents still work in Dubuque, Iowa. So I mean, we technically I grew up in Wisconsin, but I've also grew up in Iowa.
All right, fair. So that's still Culver's country up there, which I love, by the way.
Oh yeah.
But, all right, so it's lunchtime. You're gonna go hop in the car, and you're thinking you want some fast food today, and in particular, you want fast food fried chicken today. And it can be strips or sandwich, either. Every single option is available in the country that you've ever been to. So no geographical constraints here. Where are you going?
I mean, am I wrong for saying Culver's, or am I right for saying Culver's? You got me. I mean, so I feel like everybody...
that as chicken, though. They're a Butterburger place, man. It's
they are. So I'm in love with Popeye's spicy chicken sandwiches. In love. Like, if we're driving down the road and I see a Popeye's, I'll immediately pull off, and I'll be like, yeah, we got to get it. We got to get at least one sandwich, and then we can go somewhere else for lunch. Like, whatever. I just want one sandwich. But Popeye's, I mean, they got the chicken. They did it right. They hit it on the head. Popeye's does the spicy chicken sandwich. I don't think I've ever had any other thing from Popeyes besides the spicy chicken sandwich, and that's all I need.
Can I interest you in a little chicken joint called Zaxby's?
I have had Zaxby's. I have. It's good. It's really good. So when we're on the road trips in the southern area.
Yeah.
Oh yeah. I've hit up Zaxby's. Oh yeah, I've hit up Zaxby's before, and it's incredible. Their sauce does it. The crinkle cut fries, just they got something going on there.
I won't steer you away from Popeyes. I know that's you sounded very passionate about their spicy chicken. I won't steer you away from it, but no, I am a Zaxby's guy.
Yeah, but, I mean, I'm not a fighter. I'll go to anywhere. I mean, I'll try anything once.
I agree with you. I won't ever say anything bad about Chick-fil-A. We've gotten it probably 40 times on this show, but I won't ever talk bad about Chick-fil-A because it's always consistently good. But
it is.
All right, Ed, empty the bench. What do you got? You got one left in you?
Yeah, I think I got one for you.
All right.
You're a guy with a lot of interests off the field. Seems like you keep yourself busy. You seem very passionate about all of these things.
Oh yeah.
But just going back to your baseball career, and I'm sure there's going to be a lot ahead of it for you. But as of now, what are you most proud of in your professional career?
What am I most proud of? I think I am most proud in my baseball career of just being the only professional athlete to ever come from Cuba City High School, a town of like I think we just got around 2,000 people in my hometown. We just hit like 2,000 on the city limit board. We got 2,000 up there. But I graduated with a class of 50 kids, and that was a public school.
Wow.
So I knew everybody. I knew the freshmen and like who their grandparent was, who their cousins are. Like I knew every single person in my high school. I think we had like around, I think a little bit less than 250 kids. I think we had like 230, 240 kids in my entire high school, all classes. So I think I'm the most proud of my hometown and being from there and being able to say like I am my school's only professional athlete in the history of my school.
Did you travel a lot as a kid? Like, had you been around like more of the country, or did that more start when you got to school and when you got drafted?
Yeah. So that happened when I got to college. I was not traveled at all. Like my street smarts for anything, not good, not at all. And then when I finally went to Madison for technical college, it was eye opening, and I was like, wow, there's a city. There's a city out here. There's a whole new world. But yeah, I mean, I love my hometown. Love being from my hometown. And just I love being from the backwoods. I love bragging about that. People are like, oh yeah, I love Arizona, Phoenix. I love this city. Like, dude, you got to come check out this city. I'm like, nah. Like, I would love for these city boys to come live 1 week where I do and do what I do and try and survive on the river and go trapping with me and fishing and hunting and see if they could actually pull it off.
I'm going to end it with this. I just moved to New Hampshire recently, and you need to come up here because It is wide open. You have mountains, you have the ocean, and you have forests all within like a 40-mile radius. It's incredible. It's a great state. I love it.
Oh yeah. So, I'm in.
Well, yeah, I guess you were in Portland, I guess. So that's
yeah. Oh yeah. And I was out. There wasn't I don't think there was a single off day that I wasn't out. So I'm a huge disc golfer. I don't know if you guys know that. So I disc golf almost every single off day. And I'll go out and I'll just I just spend it in the woods. And that is my home. That is my peace. Like if I have a bad day, if I have a bad game, a bad week, if I'm out there in the woods disc golfing or just walking, hiking in the woods, I'm at peace. Whatever happened that week stays there because right now I'm in the woods. I am hanging out, and usually I bring my horse of a dog with me. And so having him out there running around through the woods and my wife is usually with me as well. So having my family out there in the woods is just pure bliss to me.
Theo, that was one of the more wholesome interviews we've had, I think, all off season. So you've given us like an hour of your time, so we appreciate all of the time you've given us, and we'll definitely be looking out for you once spring training comes around. But we thank you so much for hopping on. Yeah, no problem. Yeah, absolutely love this. I love talking to you guys. Incredible questions, by the way, and yeah, I just love sharing my story and where I'm from and my way of life. So yeah, thank you. I appreciate you guys to giving me a platform to do that on.
Oh, anytime.